While it's easy to scream genetics to explain these numbers, researchers aren't so quick to agree. If you look at Ken Griffey Sr. and then at Jr., you see the similarities. Both were left-handed and had very smooth swings. Both were fast and athletic, with lots of obvious fast-twitch muscle. But if you want to understand how the sons of big leaguers succeed, think about Jr.'s high school career. Ken attended one of the great sports high schools in the country, Archbishop Moeller in Cincinnati, long known for being a football powerhouse. They weren't too shabby in baseball either, producing 17 high school All-Americans, including future Hall of Famer Barry Larkin and MLB mainstay Buddy Bell, both who went on to register over 2,500 big league hits. But Griffey Jr. played just 2 seasons for Moeller, his junior and senior years. The reason? He wanted to spend spring training with his father in Tampa when he played for the Yankees. Jr. would then play baseball in the summer back in Ohio, followed by starring at wide receiver on the school football team, even going on to get offers from elite schools like Oklahoma. During his 2 years at Moeller, Griffey hit 17 homers with a batting average of .478. Many of the fields lacked fences, and often opposing teams would have to line up their outfielders behind the light poles. Didn't matter. Scouts saw Jr. hit baseballs in excess of 400 feet, with a swing that seemed to be dropped from the hands of the baseball gods themselves. However, it was the Seattle Mariners who had the first pick in the 1987 draft, and they weren't sold on taking yet another high schooler in the first round, much less with the first overall pick. They'd been burned when their 1986 selection, Pat Lennon, had flamed out. Worst, the M's gave their draft picks a psychological test to predict future behavior and character, and Griffey's results were the worst they'd ever seen. It was later revealed that it was Ken's younger brother who had taken the test, as the older Griffey hadn't appreciated the importance of it, but still. Since Griffey wanted to be taken number 1, he agreed to take the test again, this time personally, and his score came back about average. Furthermore, to cement the deal, Griffey agreed to sign for $160,000, tens of thousands of dollars less than he could have gotten, telling his agent that he'd end up making it up on the back end.
Look at young Ken. Bro, I ain't gonna lie, I didn't know he played wide receiver though. Why nobody?
However, he almost didn't end up making it at all. What Jr. was best known for, beyond his otherworldly talent of course, was the pure joy with which he played the game. Hat on backwards, a 1,000-watt smile, ball sent in the stratosphere. Ken Griffey Jr. seemed to be the last person who'd ever deal with thoughts of self-harm. But, as he explained, it seemed like everybody was yelling at me in baseball. Then I came home, and everyone was yelling at me there. I got depressed, I got angry. I just didn't want to live. Jr. was still 17 when he started his professional career, and it wasn't a smooth transition. There were incidents involving the sons of bus drivers who got into it with Griffey, and then when he returned home to Ohio, he'd stay out all night and worry his mother. His father suggested he find his own place to live. The conflicts became too much for Jr., and in 1988, he swallowed 277 aspirins and wound up in the ICU. Even there, father and son continued to battle. When Jr. was released, he did end up finding his own place to live. On the field, however, Griffey continued to star. He spent 58 games at high A, hitting 3...
Hold on, bro. I didn't know he tried to... I ain't know that, bro. Damn. It was that bad? Damn, I didn't know that, bro. Damn.
38 with 11 homers and 42 RBIs. That got him promoted to Double-A for the last 17 games he'd play in the minors. He was 18 years old, and at least physically, ready for the show. Best season by a teenager in MLB history belongs to Bryce Harper, who put up a 5.2 WAR during the 2012 season, including 57 extra base hits. That remains a record for MLB teenagers. Next comes Mel Ott with his age 19 season that saw him post a WAR of 3.9. Third best is Griffey Jr., who posted a WAR of 3.3 in 1989.
What's a WAR? Somebody let me know in the comments. I know what everything else is, but I never heard that WAR. Like, I know what slugging percentage is, base on ball, all this other stuff. But what is WAR? Like, somebody let me know what it is. And look, man, like, comment, subscribe, bro. I want to see more baseball videos. Let me know who y'all want me to react to next in the comments.
Even with service time manipulation, it's hard to see how the M's could have left Jr. off the team coming out of spring training. In Arizona, he'd gotten hit in 15 straight games, leading to a batting average of 358, hit 3 in 1989. Even with service time manipulation, it's hard to see how the M's could have left Jr. off the team coming out of spring training. In Arizona, he'd gotten hit in 15 straight games, leading to a batting average of 358. He also drove in 20 runs on 32 total knocks. He immediately became the M's starting center fielder. When he stepped on the field for his debut, history was made, because for the first time in the annals of MLB, a father and son were both playing at the same time, though not on the same team. Yet.
That's crazy.
He had a double against Dave Stewart in his first big league at-bat, and a week later, he had his first bomb. A month later, the candy company debuted the Ken Griffey Jr. chocolate bar, and quickly, 1 million of them were sold.
He had a chocolate bar with his face on it? That's Aura. That's Aura! That nigga hit a double first one and hit a bomb a week later? Yeah, let me go ahead and get him his chocolate bar. Yeah, King. Yeah, he about to be different.
Yet, he had a double against Dave Stewart in his first big league at-bat, and a week later, he had his first bomb. A month later, a candy company debuted the Ken Griffey Jr. chocolate bar, and quickly, 1 million of them were sold. But not one of Jr. himself, who ironically enough is allergic to chocolate. Case in point, Jr. was cruising to AL Rookie of the Year.
At about, what, price on about 50 cents?
In July, he was hitting a solid 287 with 13 homers and 45 ribbies. But then he broke his hand on a road trip to Chicago. At first, it was reported that Junior had slipped coming out of the shower. That obviously wouldn't have been a big deal, but it ended up being revealed that he'd broken it when he slammed it against the wall while arguing with his girlfriend. Junior obviously still had some growing up to do. He's the only player I've ever dealt with, right?
Let him argue with his girl, man.
Have to call his mother on him, said Mariners GM Woody Woodward. Griffey missed a month, then came back with a bit of a whimper, hitting just 3 more homers, while his final average sank to 264, causing Junior to finish 3rd in Rookie of the Year voting. However, the stage was still set for his propulsion into the stratosphere of baseball's truly elite all-time greats. The talent was there, but first, there'd be something a bit more local in terms of history for Junior. When the 1990 season started, Ken Griffey Sr. was 40 years old and playing for his original team, the Cincinnati Reds. He wasn't playing very well, however. In the same time period, his son was becoming a human highlight reel. Junior's numbers at the plate were strong. He'd finish the year with a .300 average, 22 homers, and 80 RBI. He'd make his first All-Star team and win his first Gold Glove. The 5-tool prodigy was putting on a display nightly, like when he robbed Jesse Barfield of a home run in Yankee Stadium, using the wall to spring himself up. Watching that play was his father, who was sitting next to Barfield's wife. Little did Senior know at the time
that boy was nasty back there, huh?
That he'd be on the same team as his son within 4 months. When the Reds released Senior in August, the M's picked him up largely to keep an eye on Junior. On August 31st, they became the first father-son duo to play in a game on the same team, then the first to get back-to-back hits. Then, on September 14th, they eclipsed a factoid that seemed semi-impossible. They hit back-to-back homers.
Say swear to God.
Would likely never be matched in MLB history.
Say swear to God they hit back-to-back homers. No way that's real. They hit back-to-back homers? That's gotta be the best thing that ever happened in life. What?
Then the first to get back-to-back hits. Then, on September 14th, they eclipsed a factoid that seemed semi-impossible. They hit back-to-back homers, a feat that will more than likely never be matched in MLB history. Senior hit his first, and later he said, "I knew Junior would be thinking home run. I could see it in his eyes when I crossed the plate." They would end up playing 21 games together that season, and Senior got a big boost from the experience, putting up a batting average of .377 and 18 ribbies with the M's. But he did successfully help Junior too. A clubhouse aide was later quoted as saying, "Junior toned down when Senior got there. He went from a brash and outspoken kid to someone more respectful of his elders." 1991 would be the only season that they would play together from start to finish. The impending retirement of his father, however, seemed to be weighing Junior down a bit. His numbers were good. He'd end up finishing the year with a .327 average to go with 22 homers and 100 RBIs. But he was now getting criticized for his sometimes indifferent play, especially in the outfield, despite the fact that he had the talent to be among the best ever to play center. To some, like teammate Harold Reynolds, it just didn't seem like he was having fun. So the two talked, and Junior came out in the second half on fire, hitting .373 with 13 homers and 64 RBIs over the season's final stretch. He'd come to finish the year with a WAR of 7.1, third best for position players overall. But the best was still yet to come for the kid. During the 1990s, the player with best WAR overall was a mostly clean Barry Bonds with a mark of 80.2. Second, though, was Ken Griffey Jr. with a total of 67.5. During the decade, Griffey hit more homers and drove in more runs than Bonds. He also had better defensive numbers, including 1995 when Jr. led all of baseball with a D-WAR of 3.4. They were both superstars, Bonds and Griffey, both the children of standout MLB players who'd grown up around the game, but there was a huge difference between them. As the long ball became the face of MLB in the late 1990s, Bonds was seemingly moving past his prime, and Jr. was entering his. This is obviously before Bonds started his special diet, reversing this trend completely.
Ain't no special diet, bro. Go look at them home run numbers, bro. There ain't no special diet. Bonds is like that, boy. Don't hate, boy. I ain't gonna let you hate, boy.
The natural was quickly becoming the face of the MLB because of the awe-inspiring things he could do on the baseball field. Things no one else could, with an electricity that complemented them perfectly.
Look at that swing.
He could make defensive plays that rank among the best ever, still to this day, that have been shown over and over millions. He could make defensive plays that rank among the best ever, still to this day, that have been shown over and over millions of times, winning 10 straight Gold Gloves in the process. For example, in 1995, he made this.
He won 10 straight Gold Gloves. Ain't that like the best like outfielder or something like that? 10 straight. Is he the best two-way of all time? Is Ken Griffey the best two-way baseball player of all time? Somebody let me know in the comments.
He can make defensive plays that rank among the best ever, still to this day, that have been shown over and over millions of times, winning 10 straight Gold Gloves in the process. For example, in 1995, he made this incredible Spider-Man catch by robbing Kevin Bass in the Kingdome, a play that defies belief even to this day.
That's crazy.
Unfortunately, this catch ended up resulting in a broken left wrist and 73 missed games, but like we said before, it still does live on. He could also do things like rob hitters of home runs with athletic maneuvers of all-time quality, such as this gem when he took away a bomb by Luis Gonzalez at Tiger Stadium in 1998.
That's tough.
Perhaps known in MLB history, made as many ballet-like catches at the wall.
That's
plays where timing,
crazy.
speed, leaping ability,
That's
and lack of
crazy.
fear all combined to create an unfathomable burst of athleticism. During his prime, Junior made these low-probability catches
That's
seem
crazy.
routine. Even though he might not have stolen the most bases, Griffey could still win games with his legs, like when he scored from first in the 1995 ALDS against the Yankees. But even before that play, Griffey had been tormenting the Bombers for months, starting in August when he returned from a broken wrist. The M's were in the middle of a race for the wild card, and they trailed the Yankees 7-6 in the bottom of the ninth, and then blasted a homer off closer John Wetland to win it for Seattle. The team went on a tear and won the division, setting up a slugfest in the ALDS against the Yankees. Griffey tied a record with 5 homers, all of them in key moments. He broke a tie in Game 4 with the homer, and then hit another in Game 5 to put the M's within 1. But he won Game 5 because he could score from first on a double, which a lot of players can do, except for the fact that Edgar Martinez had hit that double to left, which is much harder to do. And it was the bottom of the ninth, and the M's were trailing by a run. If Griffey didn't score, the M season would have probably been over. So, of course he scored. His defense, his speed, and his bat. It's almost as if you could close your eyes and point your finger to any of Junior's season hitting totals between 1993 and 2000, and you find something astounding, superhuman, otherworldly, especially in an era when guys were juicing and he wasn't. For example, in 1993, Griffey tied an MLB record by homering in 8 straight games. It wasn't like he did it with no one watching either.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. 8 straight games with a home run? That's nasty.
The entire sports ecosystem was glued to his every AB, and in the 9th game, he went 2 for 4 with a double, and the streak ended.
Damn.
Junior's response? That he really wasn't paying attention. He was just trying to use the whole field. No one should have been surprised. Before the streak began, during the 1993 Home Run Derby in Baltimore, Junior had become the first player to hit the warehouse in right field during a game or BP. He was then just 23 years old, the age in which many players first break in. He was primed in 1994 to set records, specifically Roger Maris's hollowed mark of 61 AL homers. Junior checked all the boxes. On Junior 17th, he'd hit his 30th, tying Babe Ruth for the most homers before July 1st. He then went on to hit 2 more to set the record. On August 11th, Junior was sitting on 40 homers, easily within striking distance of Maris. But, speaking of strikes, the players had one in 1994, costing Griffey a shot at immortality.
What?
And the Montreal Expos a shot at a pennant, but that's a story for another day. Regardless, it still showed what a more mature Junior was capable of. It was in 1997 that Junior would take another shot at the record, finishing with 56 homers and 147 RBIs,
Damn, MVP.
winning his one and only MVP award.
He won one
Following
MVP?
year, even though he led all of baseball with a WAR of 9.7, he'd finished 4th. Admittedly, this was before the advent of data-driven analysis, so one would think the outcome would probably be different now. But still, it's a race that
He only won one MVP?
probably didn't age that well. It was in the summer of 1998 that McGwire and Sosa postured themselves as feel-good stories, while they injected and ingested whatever they could do to boost their performance. However, what was kind of lost at the time was that Junior stayed relatively close to them the entire season, with an identical home run total to his previous year at 56. Junior clubbed another 48 homers the next year to lead the AL for the 3rd straight season. However, this time, he'd finished 10th in MVP voting, but things were soon to change drastically for Junior. In the offseason, he turned down the M's offer of 8 years, $135 million. He was set to be traded elsewhere by the turn of the century. His new home? Cincinnati. The deal was complete before the 2000 season, and at the age of 30, Junior returned home to the team that his dad had first made a name with. Until then, Junior's baseball career had been one mostly of triumphs. He was universally admired, and he was poised to become the greatest home run hitter of all time, just as news reports were starting to surface about medicines that Mark McGwire kept in his locker in St. Louis. And this pathway wasn't immediately diverted from. Junior played 145 games and hit 40 homers with 118 RBI in 2000, his first year in red. But unfortunately, that would end up being the high water mark for his Cincy stint. This was when Junior's body started breaking down. So, what happened exactly? Let's list off some of the major procedures he had to go through. Right shoulder surgery, right knee surgery, left knee surgery, left knee surgery again, hamstring surgery, and 5 or 6 drainage procedures after the hamstring thing. During his first 4 years in Ohio, he played in about 58% of his team's games. But unfortunately, this wasn't the full extent of his injury woes. In 2002, he played in just 70 games, right? But that was with a torn patella in his right knee in almost all of the contests. In 2003, he dislocated his right shoulder, and then, for good measure, he ruptured an ankle tendon rounding first on a double and missed the rest of the year.
Damn.
In 2004, he tore that surgically repaired hamstring, making a diving catch, and again missed the rest of the season. On and on it went. But he won the Comeback Player of the Year in 2005 by crushing 35 homers and driving in 92. He hit another 30 in 2007. By then, the team had moved him to right due to his quickly diminishing range and speed. But still, his numbers had been a ghost of what they once had been. In his time in Cincy, the kid had hit just 210 home runs in 9 years, a far cry from his total of 398 and 11 for Seattle. Fans were now voicing displeasure with his infrequent play, and the fact that the Reds were finishing sub 500 every year of Griffey's tenure. it was obviously time for a change. So he was traded to the White Sox in 2008, which he could have vetoed, but didn't, because the Sox were headed to the postseason, something he hadn't reached much in his career. Sadly, he didn't perform all that well, and they quickly got swept by the Rays. He signed with the Mariners in 2009 and went on to hit 19 home runs, but by 2010, he was done. In June, he literally packed up and drove cross-country to Florida. He was finished with baseball at the age of 40.
Damn.
But before he left, he gave baseball and America one last gift: Jackie Robinson Day. It was Griffey's idea to wear 42 on the day Jackie broke the color barrier, which has now grown to become a cherished April ritual. Griffey was the source of joy. Plain and simple, he was who he was and never apologized for it. He was and is a great ambassador of the game. He played hard to the point that his body literally tapped out, not before registering back-to-back 50 homer seasons, an MVP, and 10 Gold Gloves. Just look at that Spider-Man catch again. This is a man of 6'3" and 200 pounds throwing his body at a wall at top speed with zero regards for his body. Then he could go out and hit a 450-foot homer, followed by a prank in the dugout. At the end of the day, Ken Griffey Jr. embodied all that is right in the sport of baseball, and it's for that reason, and all the ones we've mentioned so far, as well as so many more we could ever put into one vid, that we here at MTC believe there'll never be another player quite like.
That 24 jersey, I need it. That 24 jersey got all types of aura in it. I need it. I ain't gonna lie, man. Bro, Ken Griffey, I just can't believe he only got one MVP. He was injury prone at the end, bro. Y'all think juicing would have helped Ken Griffey? Let me know in the comments y'all think juicing would have helped him, bro. But look, man, like, comment, subscribe. Y'all already know what's going on, man. No bout.